4 times sold out at Target. How Jungkook's quiet vinyl record is allegedly rewriting HYB's BTS sales strategy in America. What if the biggest shift in BTS's American business strategy didn't arrive with a stadium tour announcement, a Super Bowl commercial, or a primetime TV performance, but with a vinyl record that vanished from shelves in minutes? Not once, not twice, but 4 separate times? What if the real headline isn't simply that Jungkook sold out again, but that HYB may have just found a data-backed blueprint to dominate the US physical market in an era where physical sales are supposed to be dying? This is not just another feel-good story for fans. This is not just a viral, sold-out post destined to trend for a few hours on social media. According to industry watchers, analysts, and signals quietly emerging from within the K-pop business ecosystem, the 4th consecutive sellout of Jungkook's era-rang Orchid vinyl at Target could represent something far more disruptive. It may be the moment HYB realized that one member's individual gravitational pull can reshape how BTS products are designed, distributed, and monetized in the West, especially in America, the most competitive music market on the planet. And the most unsettling question for the industry right now is not whether Jungkook can sell. That question has been answered repeatedly. The real question is this: how far is HYB willing to go to rebuild its entire US sales strategy around this kind of member-driven exclusivity? And what happens next if this model becomes the new normal for BTS? From the outside, the story appears simple. Jungkook, a member of BTS, released a special vinyl edition called Era-rang Orchid, tied to BTS's 5th album Era-rang, with individual vinyl variants dedicated to each member. The Jungkook version was made available exclusively through Target in the United States. And then almost immediately, it sold out. Then it restocked and sold out again. Then it happened a 3rd time. And now, for the 4th time, the vinyl disappeared from Target's inventory, sometimes reportedly in under 5 minutes. But simplicity is an illusion here. In the music business, nothing sells out 4 times by accident, especially not physical media in 2026 in an age dominated by streaming algorithms, playlist placement, and digital-first consumption. Vinyl is supposed to be a niche format, driven by nostalgia and collectors rather than mass-market demand. Yet Jungkook's Era-rang Orchid didn't behave like a niche product. It behaved like a high-demand consumer good engineered for scarcity, urgency, and repeat waves of attention. And that behavior is exactly why industry media have begun reading this achievement not as a fan-driven anomaly, but as what one analyst described as gold data. Because data, not applause, is what HYB values most. The 4th sellout matters not because it flatters Jungkook's star power, though it certainly does, but because it proves something measurable, repeatable, and monetizable. It shows that a single BTS member can repeatedly move physical units in the American market without a massive promotional push, without endless media interviews, and without traditional advertising campaigns. That alone challenges long-held assumptions inside the industry about how K-pop products should be sold in the US. The Era-rang project itself already hinted at a strategic experiment. By releasing individual vinyl variants for each BTS member, HYB created a controlled environment to observe consumer behavior at a granular level. Which member sells fastest? Which version restocks and sells again? Which one maintains demand beyond the initial hype window? In this experiment, Jungkook's Orchid edition didn't just perform well, it dominated. Reports from fan accounts and media outlets such as E!, KoreaPortal.com, and KStarTrend.com consistently noted that Jungkook's vinyl was the fastest to sell out and the most consistently restocked, only to disappear again. On social platforms like X, Threads, and Weverse, the reaction was immediate and emotional. Fans celebrated, joked, analyzed, and, most importantly, bought. The nickname Sold Out King began circulating not as marketing copy, but as organic fan language, often the most powerful kind. Yet behind the scenes, this wasn't just fandom enthusiasm being celebrated. It was being studied. In business terms, repeated sellouts do something psychologically potent. They manufacture scarcity. They create the perception that ownership is fleeting and that hesitation equals loss. Each restock becomes an event. Each disappearance reinforces the idea that the product is special, limited, and worth acting on immediately. And crucially, this entire cycle can extend a product's sales life without additional promotional spending. That is the kind of efficiency labels dream about. Analysts cited by K-pop media have suggested that HYB now has strong incentive to pivot its physical sales strategy in the U.S. toward what they describe as member-driven exclusivity. Instead of relying solely on group branding and mass-distributed albums, the company can leverage individual members' commercial pull through limited editions, retailer-exclusive deals, and personalized variants designed to activate specific segments of the fandom. Target's role in this story is also significant. As one of America's largest retailers with a strong track record of exclusive vinyl partnerships, Target provides both scale and legitimacy. Selling out repeatedly at Target is not the same as selling out at a niche online store. It signals mainstream consumer demand, logistical readiness, and retail confidence. For HYB, this partnership offers higher margins, clearer sales data, and a powerful platform for future experiments. And Jungkook's performance within that platform may have quietly rewritten the internal playbook. Industry observers now speculate that HYB could expand this model beyond vinyl. Album packaging, tour merchandise, pre-order bonuses, and even comeback rollouts could increasingly revolve around member-specific exclusives, especially in Western markets, where individual branding often drives consumption more effectively than group identity alone. This doesn't mean BTS becomes fragmented. On the contrary, it may mean the group becomes more strategically layered. Group releases establish the cultural moment. Member-driven products sustain revenue, hype, and engagement across longer periods. Jungkook's Arirang Orchid vinyl may have just proven that this dual-track approach isn't theoretical. It works. What makes this development even more intriguing is how quietly it happened. There was no loud press release declaring a strategic shift. No executive interview spelling out a new philosophy. The evidence emerged organically through sellout notifications, restock alerts, fan reactions, and industry analysis. In other words, the strategy revealed itself through results, not rhetoric. That subtlety is part of why this moment feels so significant. HYB didn't need to announce a revolution. The market did it for them. Jungkook's prior solo success with albums like Golden already established him as a global commercial powerhouse. But physical sales operate under different rules than digital metrics. They require supply chain coordination, retailer trust, consumer commitment, and repeat purchasing behavior. The fact that Jungkook's vinyl achieved all of this multiple times suggests a level of purchasing motivation that goes beyond casual fandom. It also raises uncomfortable questions for competitors. If one K-pop artist can repeatedly sell out physical products in the US with minimal promotion, what does that say about the untapped potential still sitting inside global fandoms? And more importantly, who else might try to replicate this model now that the blueprint is visible? For BTS, the implications are enormous. As discussions about future group activities, rumored world tours, and full-scale comebacks continue to circulate, HYB now holds concrete evidence that data-driven, member-focused distribution can dramatically amplify impact in the West. A future BTS comeback in America may not look like the ones before it. Instead of one massive album drop, fans might see staggered releases, exclusive retail partnerships, and individual variants engineered to keep demand cycling rather than peaking and fading. And at the center of this conversation, whether deliberately or not, stands Jungkook. HYB preparing to position him as the commercial spearhead for Western physical sales? Will this strategy expand to other members based on their individual data profiles? Or will Jungkook remain the primary test case, the proof of concept that reshapes everything else? No one at HYB is answering these questions publicly. But the fourth sold-out notice at Target speaks louder than any press statement ever could. In Indonesia and across the global ARMY community, the reaction has been a mixture of pride, awe, and speculation. Fans celebrate Jungkook's achievement while simultaneously wondering what it means for BTS's future. Is this a preview of a more personalized era for the group? Or simply a smart adaptation to an evolving market? What is clear is that this is no longer just about a vinyl record. It is about how data, fandom, and strategy intersect in modern pop music. It is about how scarcity can be engineered without alienating audiences. And it is about how one artist's repeated success can quietly force an entire company to rethink its approach to the largest music market in the world. As the dust settles on the fourth sellout, one final question lingers, unanswered, but impossible to ignore. If Jungkook's era-rang Orchid Vinyl can reshape HYB's thinking in America without a single grand announcement, what kind of seismic shift is waiting when BTS returns in full? And how different will the rules of the game look when that moment finally arrives? And that unanswered question is precisely why this story refuses to fade away. Instead of closing the chapter, the fourth sellout at Target has opened a much larger narrative, one that stretches beyond Jungkook, beyond vinyl, and even beyond BTS as a musical act. It points toward a structural change in how global pop power is converted into measurable dominance inside the American retail system. Because if this were merely about popularity, the result would have appeared once and stopped there. A single sellout can be explained by hype. A second can be attributed to fandom coordination. A third might still be dismissed as momentum. But four separate sellouts, spread across restocks, in a physical retail environment known for conservative inventory management, that crosses into something else entirely: predictability. Predictability is the holy grail of entertainment corporations. And Jungkook's era-rang Orchid Vinyl, whether intentionally or not, has delivered it. According to sources cited by Korean and international K-pop media, Target's repeated restocking itself is a signal. Major U.S. retailers do not reorder physical inventory unless sales data justifies the logistical cost. Vinyl production requires lead time, forecasting, and manufacturing commitments. For Target to repeatedly restock the same member edition suggests confidence, not hope, that demand will convert into sales again. And it did. Every time. That loop forecast, restock, sellout creates a feedback system that companies like HYB study obsessively. Each cycle refines their understanding of price elasticity, fan behavior, urgency triggers, and regional demand. In short, Jungkook's vinyl didn't just sell. It taught HYB how America buys BTS when scarcity is properly controlled. This is why industry analysts increasingly describe the achievement as strategic, not celebratory. Inside the broader U.S. music market, physical sales have become symbolic. Vinyl is no longer just a format. It is a signal of cultural relevance. Artists who can move vinyl are perceived as having depth, longevity, and a fan base willing to invest beyond passive streaming. When Jungkook's era-rang Orchid sold out repeatedly, it placed him, and by extension BTS, into a category that Western industry players take seriously, and the absence of heavy promotion only amplified the impact. There were no massive billboard campaigns dominating Times Square. No endless late-night show circuit.
No aggressive discounting.
The vinyl relied on brand trust, fandom vigilance, and the psychological pull of exclusivity. In a way, it behaved more like a luxury item than a traditional music product. Limited availability, predictable sell-through, social proof amplified by online discourse. This is where speculation about HYB's next move becomes unavoidable. Multiple K-pop business commentators have suggested that this model could be scaled. Not simply replicated, but evolved. Imagine future BTS releases where physical formats are deliberately fragmented across members, regions, and retailers. Imagine comeback cycles where exclusivity becomes a feature, not a limitation. Imagine tour merchandise bundles tied to specific members, available only through select U.S. outlets, each designed to trigger the same scarcity loop. Jungkook's vinyl perfected in that context. Jungkook's for sellout stop looking like an endpoint. They begin to resemble a pilot program. Of course, this also raises delicate questions about balance within the group. BTS's identity has always rested on unity, equality, and collective storytelling. Any strategy that emphasizes individual commercial power must be handled carefully. Yet, HYB has never been a company afraid of nuance. Their past moves suggest they believe individuality and group strength can coexist if data supports the execution. And right now, the data is loud. Fan reactions across platforms underline this reality. On X, Threads, and Weverse, posts celebrating Jungkook's achievement didn't just express pride. They expressed awareness. Fans understood that this was big business. not just a fan win. Many openly speculated about what it means for future releases, with some calling it a test run for BTS's eventual full return to the global stage.